and then 25th of June. What were you doing on the 18th of June? Did you actually imagine the Maandamano would turn out to be what it was?
I'm trying to remember what I was doing on 18th of June, but I do remember what I was doing on was it the 25th is what, a Friday?
Yes, it was a Friday, I remember.
I believe there was something, I actually had an event that I was hosting on 26th. And I remember, I believe 25th is when the first two young kids, the young children were killed on the streets. Yeah. And I remember doing that event, and in the morning, just before, so guys were doing setup and all that.
No, sorry, 25th was Tuesday. 18th was, snap, both of them were Tuesday.
Were Tuesday. And then the Saturday was
Saturday was the
27th or something.
29th.
29th. Yeah, I remember that week, because there was that Fridays when they had shot some kids. I remember, and people were talking about it, and everyone was like, I remember that morning when guys were talking about 2 people have lost their lives. And I just remember thinking to myself, this is where tumefika hapa sasa. And sometimes I think when things happen in the heat of the moment, you don't see the magnitude till later on. Because when they're happening, everyone is emotional, everyone is angry, everyone is pissed off. The finance bill, everyone is angry at it. Then later on is when you sit down and you go, hold up, guys. There were some weird things that happened in that Maandamano. Like strange things. Yeah. Like how is the guy just standing next to the guy just go, on the ground.
Imagine, right next to you, bro.
Bro, that was some like CSI, FBI,
I know.
The series that you watch.
Like snipers at a rooftop.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah. So it was one of those things. But to be very honest, I think for me, my greatest takeaway from that personally was that, to be honest, you cannot depend on a government to change things for you. That was my take home.
Okay.
I realized that while government policies are quite important and they do come and help us, whether it's in entrepreneurship, in business, in industry, or whatever form of sphere of influence you're in, I realized at the end of the day, you cannot depend on a government for your personal growth.
Right.
You cannot. It's almost detrimental.
Yeah.
You would be committing like career suicide or whatever it is if you're depending on government to say Gava has to do this so that
I can do this. Kenyans have finally come to that realization?
I don't think so. I think, like I mentioned, government policy is still very important. It's clearly very important. But I believe the self-driven aspect is very important. Because this same year where people are complaining, pesa, is the same year somebody else is saying, I have never made profits like this in my life.
I agree.
Same exact year. Yeah. It's this same year, guys are talking about, my family has moved forward and we've done all these amazing things. What is it that they know that the rest don't know?
Yeah.
There's some information they have that everybody else doesn't have. And it's not about that, najua hii Kenya watu wanalipanga mapesa ni bribes, it's who you know. Like some people are genuinely just seated and making their tunes. There's information they have.
So when somebody listens to you, they're like, okay, fine, Chito, it wasn't about Atigava bringing food to our table.
Yeah.
As we just wanted to hold the government into account because ODM, the opposition wasn't doing that. And Kenyans are very frustrated when they see massive cases of corruption. Case in point, the fake fertilizer.
Yes.
The edible oils, for example, that one, and now even Adani. But we just can't sit back over here and this government promised youths jobs.
Of course.
Right? Now we're in an unemployment crisis.
Yeah.
When I even think about some of the promises that the president made that even led to him being elected by hustlers. Yeah. And then eventually now we don't even see hustlers in any kind of setup. I feel like those are some of the things that made youth get so agitated.
No, I'm perfectly in agreement with all of you in that somebody has to hold the government accountable. And I think for me sometimes that's the danger of a democracy. I wish we were just a kingdom. What? A kingdom simplifies.
You're saying you don't like this model of governance for Africans?
Personally, I don't think democracy works. I think it's a very flawed system of government. First of all, we can barely make decisions on what to wear. We can barely make the right decision on the food to eat. We barely make the right decision on which jobs and career paths we should take. And all of a sudden, we're entrusted to figure out who the leader of all of us is. It's just, I'm not saying that the current president should
that
become
like a
a
trumpet
king
or something, because I've never heard someone mention that.
But I personally believe a kingdom is because in a kingdom, everything is catered for. Yeah. It's assured. The king... So in a kingdom, this is how a kingdom works. You see how you're dressed? You're a representation of a king in the kingdom.
Okay.
So the king has to ensure you have good welfare so that you reflect him. If you don't, if he comes down to the streets and sees, they're street kids, it's a problem in the kingdom. It's his name on the line. Yeah. In a kingdom, it's not about basically kingdoms have found a way to greatly benefit their people and their citizens. I'm not saying our president should become a king. People can misconstrue and say that. That's not what I'm saying.
That will become worse.
What I'm saying is, personally, I think democracy is a fantastic thing. It's a good thing, but it's a flawed system of governance.
Okay.
It doesn't... Guys, it's not working.
What's the ideal? Give us an example of a country that has the ideal form of governance that Africans should replicate.
First of all, if we go and look around, especially a lot of Eastern European countries, heck, let's not go so far. Let's just go down to Swazi. As much as we complain, Swazis they are fine. We are the ones complaining on their behalf. They are fine.
Well, so you say Uganda then?
But to be honest, me and you live. JPC also did in UG. No, let's be honest, guys.
Yeah, that's
what were the problems in UG? Let's be very practically honest. Those guys have food, they have steamer, they have education, they are secure. Remember in UG, a border guy was speaking to you in English.
Yeah,
they actually have very good education.
They have very good education. So it is us who are on the outside. I'm not saying it's a perfect system.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's
but
a
it's
perfect
better than
system.
what we have.
There's a lot more things that we need to learn, because for them to be able to achieve, because the basics in Uganda are catered for.
I agree.
Like the basics.
Yeah.
I mean, freedom of speech is another thing, but no, the basics. A guy can take his kids to school.
That's true.
His kids will speak English. In fact, how many business guys do you know who are in UG right now? UG is a hub of entrepreneurship like a madness.
I agree.
I'm not saying, I'm not dismissing that there are other things that happen. But what I'm trying to say is that we have to have an alternative thought to what we are doing. There must be a better system out here. There must be a better system of governance for us as a people that ensures that we are happy. That ensures we are well taken care of. I really agree with
what you're saying, because the problem with especially Kenyans is we always just try and copy anything from the West. Oh, this one worked, like even our constitution right now. Right. This is the most progressive constitution because it's like Americans.
It was a copy paste.
Really?
But how do we unloop ourselves from the political system? Because it seems like everything that we do is tied to politics. Everything. How do we unhinge ourselves from that problem?
It's a very good question. What do you think?
You believe, guys?
Yeah.
Man, I'm one of those guys who, Kev, I mean, you know me. I will always tear it back to the thing. I think of life as this, is that if I'm standing, so I have a phone in my hands, and there's one phone on my left hand, and then there's a bigger phone on top of the phone. My thought process and how I look at things is always something is influeing this smaller phone. For the phone to work, there's a system that's influencing it, whether it's a motherboard, whatever it is that has been put into place. There's something influencing that thing. There's something that influences all of us, guys. There's something that influences this world. There's something that influences how we think, how we talk. In some cases, there are two things that are influencing. It's sort of like a push and a pull and a sort of a thing. So for me, it's less more of what is the political class in how we can unhinge ourselves. It's more of change a mindset.
It's a mindset.
Because sometimes we have pegged everything on the political class. Guys, these guys are flawed. Some of these guys have never even malizad shule.
I agree, man.
They are flawed. So if you look at it even from a human perspective, hauna masters, hauna kakitu, and they're here standing and they're leading us, already we're starting from some of these people have daddy issues. They got mommy issues that they need to deal with. And they're standing in front leading. It means on a human scale, humans are not perfect. Humans will always be flawed. Someone else must be perfect who influences these human beings.
Let's keep it moving, my brother. Okay, Steph, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask, all of this comes up to the leadership and the leaders that we've put into place. So do you think that we've actually made a mistake in the leaders that we've put in and we just need to start again? Because if you talk about a kingdom and how in a kingdom everything works well, and how the king is a reflection of the people out there. But if you look right now on the ground, our leaders are not reflecting well on the ground. So do you think the right thing to do is just let's just start fresh. Let's just admit we were wrong and we failed.
Let's live with our consequences. We made the decisions. No.
We made
the You see, remember when I said a king, the people are a reflection of the king. When you now put democracy in place and people vote, they're a reflection of who you are. So who they are is who we are. We're just overly self-righteous, to be honest. That's the reality. Even today, if you sit even outside and just stand outside on the street and ask random 10 guys, leo karawa kikushika utafanya sintamhonga tuntampatia kakitu niendelee. How is that any different from your politician wekaing kitu kidogo in his pocket from CDF?
I agree. Talk that talk, bro.
It starts here, it goes on. So these are our decisions. Like when you look at the president and you look at his cabinet and you look at your members of parliament, that's you.
That's you. Yo, cuz, let me ask you. So I mean, another. Nah, but show you story, bro.
No, but you always say that as well. You actually say it's a mirror. So I mean, we make the decisions.
Chito, apparently there's also the general, the CDF.
Yes.
That's the Chief of Defense Forces, General Francis Omondi Ogola.
Oh yeah, that was.
You remember him?
Yeah.
He died alongside 9 other military officers in a helicopter crash. There's also the formation of the broad-based government.
Yeah.
I want to ask you something quite interesting over here because I mean you're Christians just like most of us. Are you conservative or are you liberal, by the way?
I'm Jesus Christ following.
Why you do?
This is not the Chito I remember. I'm sensing a lot of spiritual awakening.
I'm going to start using that.
I'm Jesus Christ following.
I'm going to ask you something I used to tell you, Kitambo. What would Jesus do? So the Supreme Court, this one is also a major event, occurrence. Supreme Court's decision on the National Gay and Lesbian Human Rights Commission. Now they say the Supreme Court upheld the High Court and Court of Appeal decisions to register the NGLHRC as a non-governmental organization. President Ruto, however, condemned the decision, which led to some public protests. So they have rights, man.
Yeah.
Other people saying, apana bana, you guys is an African country. In fact, we're a Christian nation. You know what I mean? Izo vitu apana msizilete, but those are demonic things. However, I'm of the idea that we should be mentally liberal, physically conservative. Where's the kupiga watu huku nje? Everyone has a right to live however and however they want.
Playing both fiddle.
I'm on
the fence.
So what are your thoughts about this whole LGBTQ thing? It's been we even saw the brother Chiloba, a guy called Chiloba.
Yes, I
he was
remember
killed
that.
in
The guy, a bit was sentenced to what? Was it about 50 years or something?
Yes, just
for
the other
murder.
day.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts about the Supreme Court's decision?
Let me bring it back first of all to us as individuals. I believe as a society we need to learn to exercise mercy. Now sometimes people think mercy is if you are on the wrong. Mercy is also when you are on the right and things are still not working for you. Mercy is, we need to learn how to exercise. I believe in the scriptures it talks about if you want to receive mercy, give mercy. So if you want to receive mercy from anything in your life, you have to be able to give it. And so we have to be able to have that mercy. But something else that I believe that is even more powerful is when the scriptures say the most excellent way is love. Love is a powerful thing. And sometimes I sit down and I ask myself, are we showing love in how we treat these people? Is it a true reflection of, as for me as an individual, is it a reflection of who my father is if I don't show that love? Because if love is the most excellent way, that's what I must extend. And so if I'm extending love to somebody, I'm expecting it to be brought back to me in return. I believe if we show people love and show them genuine mercy, a lot of people will change the way they are. Because sometimes, remember before we were talking about there's something that is influencing. When you know something is influencing somebody, sometimes the only way to break that influence is to bring something else of opposite. So if hatred, if anger and all these things people say I was born this, that's another conversation, has come to this position. What if an opposite force of love comes into this play? That for me is one of the utmost important things. Do I believe people like that should be killed? No, I don't.
Of course not.
I don't believe that anybody's life should be taken away because of such a situation, but I do believe help should be given, which is why I spoke about mercy and love. Right. When we come from that lens and look at people through the eyes of mercy, we have to realize this is how, let me put it for you plain. In the eyes of God, there is no difference between that guy and the one with the clan.
Of course.
You're all the same. In fact, you, the murderer, and the guy who has lied, same WhatsApp group. There is no difference in the eyes of God. But he looks at the guy who has the clan day, he looks at this other person who has gone and has done whatever it is they've done, the murderer. He looks at all of them from the eyes of love and compassion.
Yeah.
And so that's what I believe is expected of us, to look from the eyes of love and compassion, which is why when you ask me the question, am I conservative or am I liberal? I'm Jesus Christ following, because I do believe Jesus would look at these people with love.
I love that, man. So let's take a short break and then we come back. Guys, remember we're hanging out with This is Chito, the golden voice, a.k.a. the golden voice. I know you guys have missed him on the radio. And we're just having a rundown of some of the major occurrences of 2024 in the 254. To Grudi, we'll also touch on this maneno, the broad-based government. Is it really working? Has the country finally made some strides? Just like the president was hoping. Alikuwa anasema now he's trying to unite the country. Bring everyone on board. Lakini kuna watu wanasema hiyo ni story ya kutupanga mambo ya 2027. Right, so sawa, we make sense of all those manenos with the golden voice Chito, that is Chito Ndhlovu, in just a bit. Right now, I've got a banger by Nyeri inaitwa Akisioni. It's 7:38.
The greatest hits live here. SpiceFM.